Hi everyone, my name is Nick, and this week's plant of the week is Zamioculcas zamiofolia, commonly referred to as the ZZ plant or the Zanzibar gem. Am I making that up? I don't think I'm making that up. So this is native to Africa, and this is hands down the easiest houseplant in existence. I am so confident when I say that. This is the best beginner houseplant that there is. This is, I would argue, the best houseplant for anybody who's just starting their houseplant journey, because it's just such a rewarding houseplant to grow in the sense that you don't have to do anything to it really, and it also won't do anything, but it'll survive by all means. So this is an aroid, so it's in the Araceae family of houseplants, so it's very closely related to anthuriums, philodendrons, monsteras, and all of those other lovely houseplants that we really enjoy. But this plant has a little bit of a different care. This is a much more lower light houseplant. Can it handle medium indirect sunlight completely fine? Absolutely, but if you subject this houseplant to direct sunlight, these leaves are going to get yellow and chlorotic, and it's not going to look as beautiful as it once did. So medium to lower light is definitely the spectrum that you're going to want to land in, and this is a very easy plant when it comes to watering. I used to always say at the houseplant store, when I would sell people these plants, if they were just starting out, if you water this plant more than you pay your rent, it's too much. Now, that's very subjective. This little plant right here in a terracotta planter, I need to water this like every 10 to 14 days. It's not gonna handle a month watering. I mean, would it handle it? Yes, but it wouldn't be happy with me, let's say. So I have another ZZ plant in the back corner of my home. You can't see it, it's off camera, but it's like behind my refrigerator, right next to my front door, and that is the ZZ plant that I water probably every 5 or 6 weeks. It's in a much larger planter, probably like an 8 to 10 inch planter with probably like a foot height to it, so it's got some depth to it. It's ceramic, so it doesn't drain or dry out as quickly as this terracotta planter. So like I said, it's very subjective, but you want to err on underwatering. So these ZZ plants have, when you repot it, I'm sure you'll notice if they're not already poking out the top of the soil, they have these tubers, which literally look like yellow potatoes inside the soil, and it's where all of the new growth is emerging from, but it's also where this plant stores all of its water and its energy. So those things are basically chock full of water, and if you go ahead and water this plant too much, those are gonna rot and they're gonna basically pop like water balloons, and it's disgusting. So you definitely wanna avoid that. One surefire way to make sure that your ZZ plant is not gonna be overwatered is to use a well-draining mixture. So I have mine in just some plain soil straight from the bag, mixed in with a good amount of perlite, like at least a good handful of perlite for this small planter here. But you could go ahead and use my typical aroid mixture, which is roughly 2 parts soil right from the bag with 1 part perlite, 1 part orchid bark. But as long as you're using something roughly along those lines, I think you're going to be totally fine. In fact, I've successfully grown ZZ plants in soil straight from the bag, but that soil is much more loamy and it's going to hold on to more moisture. So you just want to be mindful there. If you are going to be a little bit more heavy-handed with the watering, you don't want to be. You're definitely going to want to leave that to dry out as long as you possibly can. But like I said, if you just want to avoid all of those problems, just use a well-draining soil mixture. Other than not watering this plant too much though, and not giving it too much sunlight, there really isn't that much else you have to do. I don't think I've ever fertilized my ZZ plants. Should I? Yes. And as I always say, I always fertilize my houseplants after they've been in the same pot for over a year, because fresh soil has enough nutrients to withhold the plant for a year of time or a growing season. But once it's been sitting in that soil, those nutrients get used up and you really want to consider adding more. But ZZ plants just are not vigorous growers. Like, they'll put off a stalk or two, like you can see kind of right here is a brand new stalk that come up. The leaves are really young and still kind of growing in. And they'll often be a little bit more lighter in color when they first come in. But those don't come very often. I probably only get like 2, 3, or 4 new shoots on my ZZ plants a year. Maybe I'm not giving them the correct care, but they're rather slow-growing houseplants, so they're really not going to give you that much. But like I said, I think they're rewarding in different ways. They're not rewarding in the sense of like a pothos where it's gonna grow like 12 feet a year for you. This is not gonna do that, but it's gonna survive that full year without a doubt, as long as you're not gonna overwater it. So I think that's just as rewarding in its own way. And these have no pest problems whatsoever. I've never had a pest problem with these plants. I don't even think the pests recognize these as real house plants. These leaves are very thick and they have really like this like waxy cuticle on it. So that kind of, one, tells you how it's stores water very well, but two, it's kind of a little bit more protective against pests. Although I will say, I should probably be doing a better mind of dusting these leaves because they do pick up dust pretty easily, as they really are just laying there catching the dust as they do best. But that's it. Is there anything else I have to say? You don't need to give this any special humidity by any means. I don't think there's really much else to say about this plant other than the fact that you should own one if you don't already. And if you're looking for a houseplant to get as a gift for somebody who's maybe just getting into houseplants, or maybe somebody who has like struggled with plants so much in the past and they're just kind of like writing them off as something that they have a black thumb or whatever they call it, this is the houseplant for them. So if you're looking for a wonderful gift for this upcoming holiday season, I think I just found one for you. But that's it for this week's Plant of the Week video. Zamioculcas, Zamiofolia, the ZZ plant, the easiest houseplant on planet Earth. I hope you already have one of these, and if not, go ahead and get one for somebody else. So thank you guys so much for joining me today. If you don't already, follow me on Instagram at PhillyFoliage, subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys in my next video. Have a great day.